Hey, what is up guys, it's Lewpac, back with another Albion Online video for you. Today we're taking a look, or a relook in fact, at HCEs, or Hardcore Expeditions. These are the PvE expeditions that you can do from town. They're free from PvP, they're entirely instant, so you are able to bring your flex gear, and I know a lot of people like them. However, they kind of fell out of meta for fame farming when random dungeons, Avalonians, all that stuff that's been introduced was basically more consistent fame, more reliable. However, the absolute top end of HCE has always been still a pretty solid option for fame farm if you can stomach the outrageous repair costs and the crazy gear requirement. You know, the top end of these does need 8.3 masterpiece gear or getting very close to it to be consistent. Now, some of the maps were unbalanced, there was a lot of problems with completing all of them, and it never really became a thing that was just the main go-to for fame farmers. It was always better to do big solid dungeon groups or statics and RD rotations, stuff like that. But recently I've connected with a group of French players called Reflect, and big up those guys. They have caused me to reevaluate everything I thought I knew about doing high-end HCEs. So over the coming weeks you're going to see videos of me and the Reflect guys clearing every single level 15 HCE map in bonus time. These guys can beat every single map, which means of course that they are able to go infinite off of one map unless something goes catastrophically wrong, because when you beat a HCE in the bonus time you get a map of the next level. If you beat a 15 in the bonus time you get another 15. So when I say these guys made me reevaluate everything I thought I knew about HCE, you know, people have been going with the solid blazing builds, permafrost builds, the old incubus mace tank. I used to use a pole hammer or a one-handed hammer, and you know, all of the things that I thought were the norm for HCE, these guys have completely made me revisit. So first I'll go over the comp they use for clearing 15s. The builds are kind of interesting. The tank is the one-handed mace cative shield tank. Now, this is a build that's becoming more standard in normal HCEs. He actually uses the Royal Helm as well for an additional stun. He uses the Guardian Armor with the Enfeeble Aura and the Royal Shoes for a bonus iframe with the Evasive Jump. When it comes to bosses, some of the bosses have a specific weapon switch, which I'll talk about a bit later. But he generally goes with the Black Monk Staff for damage mitigation because, of course, stuns don't generally work on bosses. They're immune to anything except for superior crowd control effects. The healer they run with is the One Hand Holy, and he's also using the Rosalia's Diary T8 book in order to get faster cast speed. It's a Druid Robe Royal Cowl build, unsurprisingly, for the healer. And everybody else tends to use Shoes of Tenacity for the very, very quick invisibility, which works kind of like Feign Death if you pull aggro. Then the DPS, this is the bit that surprised me. The DPS composition is 2 one-handed crossbows and a bow. And the crossbows are the first thing you're going to notice that is completely different. So these guys, they use Explosive Bolt with the Furious passive. And they also use the Caltrops ability on W. Now, everybody just assumes that you use Armor Pierce because it pierces armor and causes more damage. But these guys, as you're going to see in this video, these guys pull packs that you would be wary of pulling at 6 or 7. You know, this is level 15 HCE. Most of these mobs will 1 or 2 shot a DPS in 8.3 Masterpiece. And these guys are pulling entire rooms of mobs. It's absolutely crazy, some of the stuff they're doing. And it's all about AoE. The tank puts stuff into a large pack with the pull pattern. He then roots it in place or stuns it in place, moves away from them so he takes no damage. And then it's just pure AoE. Explosive Bolt, short cooldown, AoE. Caltrops, short cooldown, AoE. Obviously the Explosive Shot, the E, is an AoE as well, and the more you're casting, the more times you're going to proc Furious. Both of the crossbows are running the Royal Cowl. In fact, pretty much everyone in this, apart from the tank, runs Royal Cowl for infinite energy. Both crossbows run the Royal Cowl, both run Shoes of Tenacity. They actually use Bridge Watch capes as well, but they do not auto attack. Okay, they hold their auto attack until the Bridge Watch is needed. The bow, as you'll see, doesn't have that luxury, which I'm playing in this comp, but they just spam all of their AoEs. One of the crossbows uses a Royal Jacket to help with everybody's cooldowns, the other uses a Druid Robe for more damage. And this just pure AoE composition is also handy when the tank is kiting, because the caltrops will slow all of the mobs and make kiting even easier. A couple of times, like if the tank dies, thanks to the caltrop spam, you're actually able to kite back to the tank without taking any damage. He's able to respawn and re-CC stuff. It's absolutely phenomenal to watch these guys at work, and the fame is just insane. These guys don't even fame farm the level 15s once they clear them. They're so efficient that as soon as the map's done, they just jump into the next, because it's not worth their time fame farming, because there's big chunks of fame for the boss. They're confident that they can beat every map consistently with all their pocket picks. Pocket picks is something I will talk about in a bit, because there's a lot. And each map, when I release a video for each map, I'll give you the details of the pocket picks. But suffice to say, there's a lot, and there's some very cool mechanics and interactions that these guys have found. So finally then, my build, the bow, it's pretty similar to the normal bow build you would see. Royal Cal for infinite energy, Armor Pierce passive, Royal Jacket to reset cooldowns and attack faster, Deadly Shot for Armor Pierce, Enchanted Quiver, but the surprising one is Explosive Arrows, not Ray of Light. Now, this is part of the reason, and I'm going to explain to you why permafrosts are not cool anymore, and that is the interactions with diminishing returns. Ray of Light is a root, and if I root something and then the tank roots it, his root is actually going to be shorter because I've given it diminishing returns on rooting effects. The tank uses the Dread-Laden Fighting passive, which every 4th auto attack causes his CC to be buffed massively by a whopping 50%. This is the key to AoE farming these packs, just pulling huge amounts and keeping them away from everybody, because once the pull is complete, the tank actually takes very little damage because everything is rooted away from you and you just spam AoEs on it. So the real star of the show is the tank here, but same with the permafrost. The permafrost prism's E ability is both an interrupt and a stun. And quite a lot of times you don't want to interrupt stuff. If stuff needs interrupting, the tank will do it. And sometimes, like a swordsman who is casting a swing that's hitting nobody, you don't want to interrupt that. So a class that can't spam its E ability is not ideal. That's not what you want. Likewise, the permafrost has a little stun mechanic, and you don't want to diminish the tank stun for a tiny little permafrost stun. So this is why things like permafrost are no good, and simply the damage output of this comp is unbelievable because it's all AoE and you're doing these massive AoE pulls. They also keep obviously the standard skip sets because there is stuff you need to skip, but then there's a ton of pocket picks which you'll see on a map by map basis. So as I release the map videos one by one, I think, well, I'll even start with the hardest. We've already done Ravens, we've done Preaching, we've done Eternal Battle, but the pocket picks are pretty much endless. Some bosses you want a dagger and a crypt candle for self-survival, and everybody just takes care of themselves. Some of the bosses can actually be reflected, so all of the DPS switch to swords and start parrying them. The Ravens boss requires 2 tanks and Night Helms on the DPS. The Eternal Battle boss can be done using an Arcane or Night Helms. And there's a ton of different techniques for the stuff, and these guys have basically found most of the tricks you could think of. They know a trick for every map, and their clear times speak for themselves. I haven't lost a 15 with these guys, and that's me coming in with no idea and not speaking French. They roughly explain to me what I need to do in English, and I'm still able to follow. And half of it is this guy from Reflect, Thyroleon, being just an insane tank. But a lot of it is just, good mechanics, confidence in the group, and just a good momentum. So as I said, this could herald a new era as I release these videos of HCE farmers. A lot of people do have their HCE gear. It's nice because it creates demand on the market for 8.3 Masterpiece. And I've noticed the HCE channels becoming a lot more active. The HCE Discord, the LFG channel. There's a lot more HCE running at the moment because, as I said, it's decent fame. It's only good fame in my opinion once you get to level 12 and above is where it starts to outclass random dungeons in terms of efficiency. But if you've got a good session and a group that can spam clear 15s, you're going to make some crazy fame. The silver is break even with auto respec. The problem with HCE is if you die with all your swaps, all your pocket picks and your 8.3 Masterpiece gear, you know, you're often looking at $250,000 for each death. So there is a silver risk element to it. You know, a bad run and you can be $1.5 million out of pocket in terms of the repair costs. But it's very, very consistent when you have a good group. And it's actually just been a lot of fun. It's some of the more challenging PvE. Much like Avalonian dungeons, it's good because you're paying attention. You're not just face rolling these. If you try and just face roll spamming buttons at the high levels, you're going to wipe over and over again. So it's challenging PvE and you can full focus on the PvE and give it your best because you're not constantly worried about being jumped from behind. So I love it. I think it's very rewarding content, and hopefully in the coming weeks, I'll be showing you how to beat all of the maps at level 15 and you guys can enjoy this too. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you watch my videos regularly, because it definitely helps my channel grow and helps more people discover Albion. HCEs have always been a controversial subject. A lot of people believe that, you know, PvE without the risk of PvP should not exist in Albion. I personally disagree. I think all playstyles should be catered for because it gives us a bigger player base and, you know, a better overall game. A bigger player base means more revenue for the devs, more money to hire people, to grow the studio, and a better game overall for everyone. So yeah, that's what I think about these HCEs and this crazy group. Again, big shout out to the Reflect guys. They've helped me a lot with learning things I didn't know about HCEs and just show me how efficient they can be. I hope to see you guys for another video. Have a great day, everyone.